Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah. As the brother presented or said, the topic of the way of Ihsan. I'm just going to present a brief discussion, inshallah, then we can interact after, brothers. So, brothers, today we gather to reflect on one of the most profound lessons of our deen, encapsulated in the hadith of Jibril alayhi salam, when Jibril alayhi salam asked the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, "What is Ihsan?" The Prophet ﷺ replied, "It is to worship Allah as if you see Him, and if you cannot see Him, then you know that He sees you." So this single statement carries the weight of our accountability, our consciousness of Allah, and our sense of responsibility as Muslims. It is the standard by which we measure not just our individual actions, but our collective behavior as an ummah. So what is Ihsan? Ihsan is, in essence, is the principle of faith, is not merely performing good deeds with excellence, but living with the constant awareness that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching us. The consciousness transcends rituals, becomes a lens through which we view every aspect of our lives, our worship, our interaction, and our role within society. Ihsan ties directly to accountability and responsibility. When a person internalizes ihsan, they realize that every word, action, and thought is recorded. It builds a mindset of vigilance, not born out of fear of others, but out of love, awe, and reverence for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Contrasting ihsan with the Western mindset. Brothers, let us contrast this Islamic idea with the prevalent mindset in the Western society. In many secular cultures, accountability is often linked only to human systems, to social norms or personal consequences. The dominant thought is, if I can get away with it, it's acceptable. This individualistic approach undermines collective responsibility. The concept of accountability becomes superficial, limited to the fear of being caught. In contrast, Islam nurtures a higher level of consciousness. A Muslim knows that even when no human being is watching, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching him. This difference profoundly affects society. When accountability is confined to worldly systems, corruption, exploitation, and immorality strive. But when accountability is rooted in the consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it cultivates justice, sincerity, and responsibility at both an individual and societal level. Accountability and responsibility in Islam. Islam's concept of accountability is not isolated from responsibility. As Muslims, we are entrusted with carrying the message of Islam to the world. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen us as a middle nation, tasked with upholding His commands, teaching His deen, and embodying the best of character. Take the story of the pious men in the destroyed town. Though he was personally righteous, he failed to act against the corruption around him. His silence made him complicit, and the punishment began with him. This lesson emphasizes that our responsibility extends beyond ourselves. We are accountable for our influence or lack thereof on society. The companions of the Prophet ﷺ understood this deeply. Their belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's constant watch over them shaped their actions. They did not merely perform good deeds, they transformed their surroundings. This is the level of consciousness we must strive for, individually and as an ummah. The role of the Islamic society. To maintain such consciousness, Islam establishes layers of protection. At the societal level, we have three key pillars. The ruler, charged with ensuring justice and the implementation of Allah's laws. 2, the scholars, the guardians of knowledge and guides for the people. 3, the groups, communities working collectively to uphold Islamic values. Compare this with secular systems, which the state is the sole protector of accountability, and even that fails when morality is divorced from divine guidance. Secularism reduces accountability to a worldly framework, neglecting the spiritual and societal dimensions that Islam emphasizes. Challenges of inconsistency. One of the greatest challenges we face as an ummah is inconsistency in our consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In some aspects of life, we act as though Allah is watching, while in others we forget. This fluctuation weakens our resolve and impacts our collective strength. True change begins with each of us. We must align every aspect of our lives with the knowledge that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ever watchful. This transformation will naturally influence society, creating a public opinion rooted in the awareness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Destroying the secular narratives. Secularism has deeply affected our thinking. It promotes individualism, which isolates accountability and consciousness from their societal impact. It teaches people to live life for the moment, void of responsibility to others or to their creator. Islam stands as a unique alternative. It teaches that our deeds have consequences, not just for ourselves, but our communities and our hereafter. By upholding Ihsan, we encounter the selflessness and moral decay prevalent in secular societies. Conclusion. Brothers, the way of Ihsan is not just a personal journey, it is a societal obligation. It is about holding ourselves accountable, being conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all we do, and fulfilling our responsibility to Islam and humanity. Let us remember the companions who lived as though Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was watching every moment. Let us strive to emulate their example, nurturing a public opinion where the consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala becomes second nature for the ummah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant the strength to uphold Ihsan in our lives, to transform our societies and to fulfill our duty as bearers of this message. Indeed, Allah does not change the condition of a people until they change what is within themselves. Jazakallah khair.